tonight clandestinely to publicly, without fear or equivocation, say that we stand up and believe in science and math. It's really a thing. You can believe it. It's fine. Yeah. Let's give it up to science and math. This feels like one of those vocations where you clandestinely gather, right? It just has that feeling. But seriously, tonight we're going to be inducting 7 winners into the Sloan Awards for excellence in teaching science and math, which with this prize will make you part of the 1%. Not because of the prize money, I mean 1% of the people eligible for this award. So yeah, I wanted to clear that up now. But we can't think of a more important topic to gather for in 2022 in terms of a celebration of excellence in teaching in our public schools, excellence in teaching around STEM, and excellence in teaching right here in New York City. We can't think of a better way to celebrate. And while New York City is a big city of over 8.5 million people, over 1 million students in our public school system, a lot usually takes up the oxygen in a room. And you would know better than me what can take up oxygen. But a lot of noise happens in New York City on a daily basis, and we don't have time sometimes to pause and really think of what's important and really celebrate what's important. And tonight, we celebrate what we really fundamentally believe is most important in New York City, and that's our teachers. So give it up for the teachers of New York City. And while there's a lot of noise in New York City, we want to make sure that we efforts to make sure that we provide our students with the best STEM education the world can provide. So give it up for the STEM educators. With that said, I bring up our first speaker, who's the president of the Fund for the City of New York, an educator herself as well, President Lisette Nieves. Lisette?
Hi, everyone. Hey. Before I start my remarks, can we just give an extra special thank you to Alden Rafael Bonilla? When Alden decided to come to the fund, and I knew he was going to be running this particular program, he just took it to a whole new place and has inspired so many people with it. And it's a reflection of how deeply rooted in community he is, but how brilliant he is as well, too. He's shy to say it. He's almost done with his doctorate, so let's give him some energy for that. But I want to make sure he knows that I appreciate it. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Lisette Nieves. I'm so proud to be here. I'm the president of the Fund for the City of New York. I will tell you that it is great to see so many people here that are in STEM careers. I was joking about it, but I actually feel really comfortable in this group. I'm married to a software engineer, and he's very linear, and I'm not. But what works about it is just the excitement around how everyday things work, right? This is the beauty of also being married to an engineer and to being close to engineers. And one thing I will say that I think is super exciting about this, I'm also a product of the public school system. I have gone through public school from first grade all the way through my undergrad. And I have to tell you that I know that teachers made a difference in my life. There's a reason why I'm a first generation, right? Puerto Riqueña, here in New York City, the first to win a Rhodes from a public university, and I am proud of that because that happened because of our public school system. So when people tell us that we can't produce the best students, they are lying, because we do all the time. And yet we still know that we can push and do better and increase the numbers who are doing well. But tonight is about those who have been doing that every day. So thank you to the teachers who were selected. If you could stand up real quickly, please. I want to thank the incredible school leadership teams, because a teacher that thrives is because they're in an environment that allows them to thrive. You cannot flex, as we say, without the support of an incredible set of school leaders and incredible students. So I would like to thank them too. Applause for our school leaders. I also want to say something to all of the staff at the fund. Thank you all for being here. Everything that happens here is because someone decided to do a little bit more outside of their roles to make it happen. And so I want to thank them. Thank you, fund folks. Gracias. Thank you. Before I transition to our next speaker, I do want to say this one part. And it's to all the people who were part of the nomination and the selection process. Thank you. I don't get to sit and vote. That's really important. Aldrin and I, we do not vote. We feel really strong about that. We get the top people to come in and vote on that. We have former math teachers, physicists, you get all of them. They're all coming from all over. And they unanimously supported who is going today. And I want to thank our selection committee. If you could stand real quickly, please, so everyone can see you. And what I will say to all the students that are here, the selection panel is made up of a group of people who have taken math and science as a passion and interest and turned it into the most diverse and interesting sets of careers, right? So if you get a chance to meet any of the panelists, ask them about what was their kind of trajectory. I think it'd be exciting to hear that too. Well, now I get to transition to the next person. We are excited at the fund. We're very proud about being independent. We do not typically the only, if you notice this, Adam, the only foundation we've ever really recognized and allowed to brand has been the Sloan Foundation with us. And there's a reason for it. Because we feel really strong about what are, the ethics, what is their commitment to that, what is the support, the freedom we have, right? All those kinds of things. So we're proud to say that Sloan is a sponsor for this. Sloan has the same passion that we have for this, and we're excited about that. And they also have a great president, who is Adam Falk, who is a theoretical physicist himself, former college president of Williams College, someone that has a great sense of humor, but is really happy to geek out with you at a moment's notice, all right? With that said, I really want to thank Adam Falk for being here. He's going to say some comments, but also for sponsoring this incredible event tonight. Thank you so much. Come on.
Good evening. I'm going to start by just thanking everyone at the Fund for the City of New York. We are deeply grateful to be able to sponsor, and that's all we do is sponsor. All of the hard work is done by the Fund and the Selection Committee, but we are deeply grateful to be able to sponsor these awards. They mean a tremendous amount to all of us at the Sloan Foundation. So thank you very, very much to everyone at the Fund. So as Lisette said, I'm Adam Falk. I'm the president here at the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. And I'm really humbled to be here with all of you this evening to honor some of the most important people in the city of New York, who are the teachers who are here with us tonight. So, probably haven't heard of the Sloan Foundation. What do we do? Well, primarily what we actually do is that we make grants to support scientific research in fields like astronomy and chemistry and biology and physics and geology and economics even. And so you might wonder, why is it that a foundation that sponsors research is sponsoring these awards for public high school teachers? Well, the reason is actually simple and it's straightforward. It's because at the Sloan Foundation, what we know is that we're never going to produce the next generation of amazing astronomers and chemists and biologists and physicists and geologists and economists if we don't make certain that every single person in our society has the real opportunity to participate in the exhilarating journey that is science. So let me say that again. Every single person must be able to participate in science. And the place that we make sure of that, the place that we make sure that every single person can participate is our public school system. So there are 1 million or so students in the New York City public schools. And if you do the math, that's about 1 out of every 300 Americans is currently a student in the New York City public school system. So think about that. This is where our future is being made. And it is our teachers who make that future. in their classrooms with their students. So if a science curriculum is like music that's been written on a page, teachers are the players who bring that music to life, who make it sing, who give it meaning, who bring out its beauty, and who leave us hungry for more. That is what, each in their own way, the 7 extraordinary teachers we are celebrating tonight are doing for their students. And I've read the citations, their students aren't in the audience just listening to the music. Instead, their students are seeing every day that they can participate in science and participate in discovery, and if they so choose, decide to become scientists themselves. Let me tell you, it's great to become a scientist yourself. Every one of tonight's honorees has had this kind of indelible effect on the students whose lives they have touched. They've helped students to see wholly new possibilities for themselves, for what they can do, and for who they can be. There is no greater gift than that to give a young person. And this is why we honor these extraordinary teachers. And in honoring them, we also must thank and honor thousands of other extraordinary teachers, thousands in the New York City public schools, equally dedicated to their students, just as passionate about education, and absolutely essential to the future of our city and our world. So, congratulations to all of you, from every one of us at the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for the amazing work that you are doing.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank Amanda for having a last name that starts with a V. This has been really inspiring. It's been an amazing evening of hearing stories and hearing the impact that teachers have on their students and on their schools. And so this has just been, I really appreciate this moment and just having this time to acknowledge the importance of our teachers. So thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda Valenti. My name is Mary Nightingale, and I'm the principal of Columbia Secondary School for Math, Science, and Engineering, which has a STEM name, right? Math, Science, and Engineering. I often describe our school as STEM retro, thinking about teaching science in the tradition of the mathematicians and scientists who are also philosophers and readers and writers, and who didn't separate science so much from humanities. Now we sort of think of like a science brain or a math or a reading brain. So we sort of separated those artificially, I think. When I think back to a time where, and I think even now, science is so much inspired by literature and art, and universe is true. And science and math are so inextricably linked to social movements, to cultural movements and progress. And so I think that it's all part of a continuum. And for me, Amanda is that kind of a Renaissance teacher who can really make those connections and really doesn't separate, thinks of science as for the masses, not as an elite subject that only certain people will study, but she really believes that physics is for everyone. And teaches it in that way, and thinks that physics should be a core subject in every school in New York City. And if Amanda were in every school, it would be, students would learn it. She approaches it in a very democratizing way and a very accessible way, and her students really succeed because of her approach. She doesn't approach it as something that's difficult or hard. She's very whimsical and inventive about her approach to it. She has complete confidence that her students will learn and understand the concepts, and they do. She not only is important in shaping her students, she's also helped shape our school. We started, how many years ago now? 11, 12 years ago now. And with an idea of having a 4-year engineering curriculum. And we played around with some curricula that had been pre-written but didn't find that it really sort of served the purpose of exploring the built world and really sort of exploring the engineering process, which is essentially to come up with a design and then break it. and then see where its weaknesses are, and then try to sort of rebuild it. And how do you really assess that? How do you evaluate that? What's a grade look like in a process like that? So she's been really central in helping to create a sort of a 4-year developmental curriculum where students move from computer science to robotics. She's done computer-aided design, capstone projects, partnered sometimes with challenging partners, with parents, with faculty at universities, with students, with colleagues, and helped the school really develop a curriculum that brings students through and to an engineering process to a design and build place on a shoestring budget with very little space. Thank you. We are a scrappy little school, we try. So she's taught all of it. She's taught all of the engineering courses from 9th grade to 12th grade. She's taught physics. This year she's teaching AP physics. I think she can do anything. I'm considering giving her English literature next year just to see what she'd do with it. I think it would be awesome. Maybe I'll get Erin, you want to teach physics, and you guys can switch. Okay. So this, her, just joy and ease in learning and her confidence that learning is possible and is for everyone extends not only from students but also to our colleagues. As we all had to take this hard turn into this remote world, like literally in like 4 days, they were like, here, learn how to teach remotely. Next week we're all going remote and you're all going to teach, in the remote world. She was an early adopter. She helped her colleagues figure out the mysteries of Google Classroom and Nearpod, Pear Deck, and really came up with, didn't let that environment discourage her. In fact, in a virtual observation that I made of a physics lesson, I think I finally understood static electricity. It had animation, it had interactivity, almost every student participated in this very difficult world where kids were turning off, cameras and sort of retreating into isolation. She brought this idea of charge and balance, and electrons have negative charge, so they want to go to a positive place. Anyway, it was all really exciting, and I think I finally understood it. Don't quiz me. But it was not just about my understanding. The students also, even isolated from each other and isolated from the classroom, were still getting these concepts. She was not only a resource for the students, but also for her colleagues and teachers, as she helped everyone in the school sort of navigate this world. And that's the kind of learner and teacher that Amanda is. She's an amazing teacher, an amazing collaborator, an inveterate doodler. And I always know in the faculty conference when Amanda's doodling that she's, thinking hard about what we're going to do, and it's going to give me some good things. We're so lucky to have her and in our community, and I'm so happy to celebrate her tonight with all these other teachers. So thank you so much for being part of our church.
I was really worried that I'd be too short for the podium, and I'm glad that I'm not. So, when I first entered Columbia Secondary School for Math, Science, and Engineering, I was eager to meet everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. Custodians that would sleep after the teachers, the middle school's mess, high schoolers that were only familiar with their grade, and teachers that didn't even teach me. Amongst that group of teachers was Professor Valenti. Now, I don't exactly remember my first interaction with her, but she did give what I consider a happy hello. You know those hellos that make your day because it feels so genuine? That's the type of hello she gave and still gives to me to this day. It's one of my favorite hellos. So from day one, she already managed to make an impact on my life and left a strong impression on me when it came to socializing. Her happy hellos really rubbed off on me. Why? Because now, as a sophomore, I come to her morning class before the bell rings, despite it not being my class, to give a happy hello. I have never felt happier seeing a teacher in the morning. She returns the same energy back, as per usual, and that is something I am grateful for. I have also gotten to know Valenti now that I'm her actual student, and not just a middle schooler running around the halls. I am now a high schooler running around the halls. Being her student is one of the best blessings I could ever ask for. Her ability to teach material in a way that is engaging and interactive leaves me in awe every time. The way she can teach effectively with even the rowdiest students is beyond me. And for the record, it's my class. We're that class. I don't know how you do it, Valenti, but because some of us are menaces when it comes to lab work. And at the end of the day, she really does pull through with how she teaches all her classes and laughs with every single one of her students. Her smile and laugh are genuinely infectious. Her impact on us is so vast. She keeps us motivated to work and never brings us down. It's why she's such a great teacher. She gives us the confidence as students to work effectively and have confidence in our own abilities. When I do badly on a quiz, she just jokes about it and uplifts me in a way that encourages me to go for the 100 or just improve in general and just never bring me down. I am so grateful for that. And not only that, but to me personally, it is comforting to see her being a woman in STEM because that's what I strive to be, and that's what I am. And I hope that everyone in this room really appreciates that, because I really do. And because it's just amazing to see it in real time, and her filling that role is inspirational, and look up to her for that and so much more. So, to sum it all up, Professor Valenti is someone who has made such a big impact on my life simply for being who she is. She is a woman of happy glows, a woman of kind smiles, also a woman of STEM. I hope that even when I graduate, she will still greet me with those infectious smiles and happy glows despite my inevitable departure in a couple of years. Thank you, Professor Valenti, and thank you for everything you have done. Thank you for inspiring and impacting my life in such a positive way. And thank you to everyone in the audience for listening. Have a great evening.
Kids will tell me all the time, like, I'm really enjoying physics. Because everybody has something that they can add to it. It's not overly abstract. People can share an observation of how their body moved on the train, or they can relate it to something that we just learned.
She makes it approachable, accessible for students, and part of that is she has a modeling approach.
So instead of plastic on the ground, what is the surface that's on the ground with it? It turns out that several summers ago, I took a modeling workshop, and prior to that, I would maybe ask kids to draw the forces on a falling basketball and then be exasperated that they still thought the hand was pushing the ball when it wasn't touching. And then I went to this workshop and we started making flip books of the ball at different states in time. And then that taught me to introduce the kids to what page in the flip book are you at? So in that state and time, what are the objects that are interacting with the basketball? And then we moved from there to create the model. We're building a way to describe a phenomenon that we see, having like a visual representation of how things interact. And if we know how things interact from our model, we can now make predictions. It's really been a big change in my teaching since I started doing that, because now there's 4 different steps of things that are visual and teach kids how to think to get to the end point.
She's very attentive to who's understanding it, and very persistent about finding ways, if there is a group of students who didn't understand it, very persistent about presenting it in a different way. Especially with the virtual learning, that was really tough, moving physics to an online, to a remote experience. And her experimentation with some of the platforms, the online platforms, she was an early adopter, an early explorer of some of these platforms. Teachers had to sort of go from 0 to 60 in a week in getting up to speed. She was a central person in, here's how you do this. Here's how you can do this in Nearpod. Here's how you can, she would figure something out, and then she would sort of put out guides to the rest of the faculty.
All right, ready? Elevator starting. I did a program at Columbia a few summers ago in biomedical engineering, where it was a summer internship for high school students, and they were making medical devices to work in difficult climates or no electricity situations. So it really grabbed the students, and I tried to recreate it here, where we made devices to aid the disabled.
The journey of this capstone course has been, a process of inspiration rooted in how do I impact my own world and how do I improve it.
A more local problem was that our cafeteria, which is now being remodeled, when I had cafeteria duty, I could not believe how loud it was in there. And the students found it very unpleasant for the same reason. And so one of the project students took on was, how can we dampen the decibel level in the cafeteria? And when they did their measurements, it was beyond the recommended level of loudness. So we made these panels, and we did measurements on how much they can absorb to make it more pleasant, and we also had the art students decorate them.
We see science as a subject where you can care about people, and I think she really exemplifies that. She cares about her students, and I think that they see her as a model, and they see her as a mentor.
So I was very honored when I found out I won this award, and then I was very horrified when I found out I had to make a speech. Is anyone there with me? I come from a family of New York City teachers. My grandfather, aunt, and uncle, and my father, who is here today. Give us a wave. When I was entering college, he sat me down and said, "Whatever you do, don't become a teacher. And definitely not in New York City." So of course, I got my teaching degree, I hightailed to New York City, and I got my first teaching job. I landed at a large high school in Washington Heights under Principal Harris Marmer, who couldn't be here today. And he always told his new teachers, this isn't a job, it's a calling. It will never be boring, and you can never be good enough at it. Words that are very true. He also said, and if it's your first year and you haven't cried yet, you're doing pretty good, kid. The crying would come later. One of the things my father did teach me was that if I went on for too long, he would stop listening or tell me to get to the point, which turned out to be really useful in teaching. So I will close this out by thanking the fund for this honor, thanking my family and colleagues and students. This job is really easy when you have the colleagues and admin that I have and the students that I have. And I'll leave you with this last anecdote from my youngest child, Alana, who is 6 and wants to be, you guessed it, a teacher in New York City. And I told her it's a wild ride, but you'll be great, because there's nothing as prideful as saying that you're a New York City public school teacher. Thank you.